Hello, everybody. Leao here from Island Girl Views. It has been such a long time, and so I thought tonight, actually, what I'll do is I'll have a chat with Elliot because he's always been my go-to, and he always asks incredible questions. So I thought I'd bring him along, and actually, he's been a huge part of my journey, by the way. So yeah, I'm going to introduce him now. So everyone knows you, Elliot.
Pamari, lucky to be here. Very, very happy to be here. Thank you very much. No pressure, eh? No pressure for your questions.
Always pressure on you. You always pressure me, so I'm just like, you know what? Let's just pressure each other tonight.
Oh, there we go. Hey, iron sharpening iron. Very good.
100%. I thought I'd just start off with a word of prayer and then we'll get into it. God,
Awesome.
thank you so much that we can come to you. Thank you for this program. Thank you that
Mm,
it was just, birthed from a place where we wanted to seek truth and from an island girl's perspective. And I just want to thank you for the Daily Examiner. I pray blessing and favor over it. And also our time that we can spend tonight talking truth, love, and enveloped in truth, Lord. We just thank
mm.
you and we commit tonight in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Wow.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
how's your week been? How's your week been, Elliot?
No, it hasn't been too bad actually. I did some work. I was sent over to Tauranga to do some work over there. Where I got trapped by the storm. I was unable to get back to Auckland, so I ended up having to ride up the storm in a place called Ngongo Taha, which is
Oh,
a
wow.
place about 6 kilometers outside of Rotorua. So that was pretty cool, pretty fun. Had some
Oh,
great chats with some of the other people who were staying there at the same time. So they were there for holiday. I was like, oh, bummer, bummer.
you know, Elliot, I just think we've got such a beautiful country. And
Oh, we
I,
do.
like, every time I travel somewhere, no matter how, well, I've been back and forth from the Hawke's Bay, but
Mm.
whenever I have a moment and the sun is out, I try and take as many photos as I can because I just can't believe how beautiful our country really is,
Mm. No,
and
you're
it's
absolutely right.
worth fighting for. It's
Mm.
actually worth fighting for.
Yeah, it really, really is. Isn't it fascinating? And also that culture of what we know used to be New Zealand still exists in those smaller provincial areas. That the more bigger, larger urban environments, there's a lot of fear, a lot of suppression of intellectual diversity
Yep.
that goes on. So, in the bigger centers, you're only allowed to think one way. And if you don't, then you get straight up attacked, abused, spat upon. You get people trying to take out your very livelihood, trying to prevent you from being able to feed your family. But in the provinces, in the smaller townships of New Zealand still exists. It is still a place where you can enjoy family, where you can discussing, where you can have a good argument and a fight without it getting into horrible environment. So, no, I love it. I think it's a really, really good to always drive around in our beautiful country. Mm.
So I've been down in the Hawke's Bay for this past week, and with Liz Gunn, you might know Liz Gunn
Awesome.
uh, and her cameraman, and
Mm.
so I actually got the opportunity to interview people. We did it as a collab, and she's an incredible journalist, an incredible interviewer who knows and is very present when she's talking to people. So I actually learnt a lot from her this past week. But I'm telling you now, Elliot, when we got down there, it was 12. It's been 12 weeks since the beginning of
Mm.
the cyclone,
12
and
weeks. Right.
12 weeks. So it's
So,
been
so that money should be, so there should be money flowing from the government. There should be money flowing from Red Cross. There should be money flowing into support those people. I assume at 12 weeks, 3 months. So I would expect that that money has started to come through for those people. Obviously, it should have been already.
flow would be a really good word to use, but more like trickle, and not even trickle to people. Like, I think the most tragic thing I felt when I was there was, the homeowners are still weeping. Like the guy that. So I want to tell you just one particular story. We stopped by a group of people who have been working from the um, Silt Inn, which is another incredible group of people that have come together we stopped by. They said stop by the Roses, and as we were coming along Esk Valley, we met a gentleman there who has lost everything. So he's lost his business, he's lost his house, he's lost all they were able to do was, a shed was the only thing that they could actually save for him to put on his tools. And do you know what he wanted to do, Elliot?
Mm.
He wanted the group to clear out all of the roses so that when people drove past, they would see these beautiful blood red roses along the fence line so that there would be hope. That's what
Oh
what
wow.
it
Mm.
was. Honestly, like it was incredible to see that they actually that he wanted to make sure that people, when they drove past, that there was new life. There was
Mm.
life for them to go. Just hang in there. Just hang
Mm.
on. This might take a while, but so if you go along Esk Valley, guys, if you ever come for a visit, and you really need to go down there, as much as we can explain and as much as we can show you, it's not until you actually get down there that you realize the magnitude of the devastation down there. But
Mm.
in the midst of it have been these incredible stories, and that is one of them, the roses.
Mm.
So if you drive past East Valley, you'll see it.
Did you get you got pictures? I assume of the roses. Of course you did. Of
Yeah.
course you did.
So we've been able to. It's going to probably end up being a little mini documentary
Mm.
because we actually wanted to hear their stories, and Jono was able to get drone footage of all of that whole place. So, if this doesn't tell the story to New Zealand, then I don't
Mm.
know what will. So, we're putting that together. It's going to take a little while, but once the stories are out, we'll be able to tell each of the stories individually. Some of
And
them have, yeah,
so this you went down there. It was you, Liz Gunn, and Liz Gunn's cameraman,
yeah,
John, I believe
yeah,
you said.
Jono, yeah.
So okay. What was the crux? What's the topic of the documentary, the mini documentary? What's the idea behind it? What's around it?
Well, this is something that I have um, uh, wanted done, and I wanted their stories properly told. So mainstream media, one of the places that we went to, mainstream media took 14 seconds of the 3-minute conversation that she was trying to explain, and so the other places were saying to her, "Why didn't you say anything about us? It's our community places need support as well." And she was like, "I did. I spoke it." And they literally just took a fraction of what she said, and the rest of it was not used at all. So we want to tell the proper stories,
Mm.
and so we were
Geez,
able
they're
to go out.
pointless. Honestly, the mainstream media are absolutely pointless. They just want clickbait. Just disgusting.
There was so many groups that were phenomenal down there that we couldn't capture all of them, but we allowed the homeowners. We went to a church who's doing incredible work there. We went to community hubs, and so we were able to capture it in a sort of a roundabout way,
Mm.
and for them to just speak their heart. And we did ask
Mm.
them questions that they were able to, but some of the footage of the places that they're trying to fix up down there, you can't you can't explain it, and the photos aren't enough. So
Mm.
hopefully when this video our video, then the reason why I went down there is because I've seen it. I've been back and forth for the last 12 weeks, and I actually thought that there would be a like a mini documentary or something that's come out for at least mainstream media to pick up that there's things that need to be done there. But it's like a ghost town. It's
Mm.
almost like people have stopped. Everything has stopped mid. So, like like a movie would just stop, and nothing is happening, and nothing is moving there. And a lot
I
of
can.
yeah,
What's interesting. I wonder if if there was a right wing or conservative government, not that there is one not there is possibly one at the moment, but if you had a conservative right wing government, it would not surprise me if One News, NZ Herald, or one of them actually did a big expose on the lack of assistance and the
Yeah.
increase in mental damage to our people in
Yeah.
Esk Valley and the surrounding areas. But my suspicion is, and it's a cynical one because I never used to think this way, but I believe that the mainstream media would specifically not go for some type of expose or mini documentary purely because it is an election year and it is their team who is in power currently.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I used to think that our government at least cared a little bit, but these past 3 years, Elliot, I've spoken out more and more because at first, and I've always said this to you. Are you sure the government's like this? Are you? I can't even comprehend that they would be like that.
Mm,
And
mm,
so we go out there and we're like, it's the community groups that are helping each other. We really literally have to create parallel communities down there
yep.
because if
Yeah.
you
No.
wait
Well
any
said.
longer, they wait any longer, they're going to lose hope and move
Mm.
away.
And I just noticed Wally's. I'm not sure if you're able to or not, but just for our teams who are not on a couple of channels, yeah, Wally's one there. Most of the cleanup has been done by the freedom groups, and MSM government and all officialdom will not acknowledge any part of the work these groups are doing. So, absolutely right. I think I know that Man Up have been rolling hard. I think Legacy are also helping in the midst there. Just phenomenal work by those who supported freedom, those who were opposed to government growth, the state power and authority growing over the lockdown situation, their reactions to COVID. And I think that, yeah, absolutely. And it makes no surprise to me that yourself, Leao, and Liz Gunn and Jono would be down there to spread the truth of what's going on rather than the narrated version of the truth by the mainstream media. So, yeah, definitely well done.
And all of them have come down for free. So this is the thing, they're not getting paid. We've got mainstream
Mm,
media who are getting paid millions of dollars, and all they're doing is, um, all they're doing is this narrative that belongs to the government stays with them. So of course there's no going to be no stories down there.
mm,
So what do? We need to get down there, and that's what we've said in the video.
mm,
If people can get down there, take a week off, take a whole group of people. We need plumbers down there. We need diggers. We need, and if people just if there were sort of concentrated effort on maybe having a busload of people rotating because we are coming into winter. This is the
mm,
thing. They've
mm,
been able to do this. It's actually quite cold down there. I didn't realize it was starting to actually get really cold. There was, there's snow on the mountains. We're starting to come into winter, and
mm,
even the Silt Inn that we went to doesn't have a cover. They
mm,
come there at night. They're absolutely exhausted. All they have is a fire pit. They have makeshift shower and toilets, and they sleep in the garage, and they're back out again. This is the kind of thing that's happening down there, guys, and this is the reality of it. We can, because we don't hear anything that's happening down there, we don't do anything. But one of the most important things I want to say about Hawke's Bay is that they are the fruit bowl of the country. And you can choose to ignore it for as long as you want. But all of the fruit and the vegetables that are coming from down there, squash, onions, next year, you, it, it's going to be really, you'll be able to see how expensive this is going to get. So we've got the farmers and the orchard guys who are not sure whether their trees will live or not. They are trying to get diggers in there. But what's going to happen is that all of us, every single one of us here in New Zealand, is going to suffer the consequences of the help not happening in Hawke's Bay. You
So,
can ignore things, in other
mm,
parts of the country, but this literally is the fruit bowl
mm.
of our nation.
Okay. So, all right, there's a couple of questions that I've got in my mind. One of the big ones, though, is okay, first and foremost, dealing with this, 12 weeks, 3 months on, promises were made. Red Cross gathered up millions of dollars. Government has millions of dollars. I don't know what the local or regional council's doing, but the idea is that national or central government must come to the table. This is a lot of their mandate of what they've got to do. Is that money coming? Are there workers? Are there experts already helping out in an environment which actually New Zealand really, really needs? Is that coming? Where's the money?
No, it's not. There's a guy here that's just put up a gentleman named Steve Wheeler. So we went to Steve Wheeler's house, and it needs to be destroyed. His house, but there at his house was a young man in a digger, and we said to him, "How were you able to afford having him at your place?" And he said, "Both, both him and the company have volunteered, so they live in Hawke's Bay. So it's really the businesses are supporting each other. The businesses are supporting the people right now because they know if they don't get into it now, coming up to winter, they're literally going to have to walk away from their land.
Yeah.
This is this is so crazy to me. I mean, if I had even $1 million, that would be able to help with so much. But we we know that a lot of them have that money. I mean, I saw Lotto had got raised 11 million. I saw that. Oh, there's been so many, but where is the accountability to it? You can say all you want. I'm doing a fundraiser for Hawke's Bay, but who is who's accountable to that?
So, all right. So the government's absolutely pointless. They have failed, and it is something which I think is not surprising. I also think that the civil defence, this bureaucratic nature. I think partly it's to do also with who they're hiring. I think that they're mates. It's the whole mates club sort of situation where I've got a mate. Let's put them into this area, this area, this area, Oranga Tamariki, whichever, wherever, and they aren't actually useful for the role. They're not actually that passionate for the role, I suspect. So, all right, the government's pointless. Fair enough. Something which we know already. They are useless. What about Red Cross and this millions of dollars that was for North Auckland or north of Auckland, sorry, but I believe there was also promises made for our environment here. Is that correct?
Um, where in West Auckland or?
Red Cross, no, Red Cross. My understanding was that Red Cross was going to assist, of course, your whāngai or your Northland region, the Auckland West region, and also the Napier region, and
Right.
that the millions of dollars that they'd gained was going to be for that. The millions of dollars that they took from Kiwis, a lot of Kiwis also who gave a lot of their money. Well, do we know what's going on with that Red Cross money?
So, of all the people that we interviewed, one community group said that the Red Cross were fantastic and have helped them with different situations in regards to possibly the caravans that need to be. So there was one group, 23 million, 3 million of it has been apparently given. There is application form at the moment that's out asking you if you have anything to do with helping. I mean, there's form after form after form that you have to fill out. Even the council ones haven't been responded to, even though they've been promised. So,
Right, yeah, that's right.
so
Yeah.
we have very disillusioned homeowners. There are some homeowners there that have insurance, but they can't talk because
Mm,
they're waiting for the insurance because if they do talk, they'll jeopardize. Same with any council or any government funding. If
mm.
they talk, they fear that they will lose that funding. So
Right.
self censoring, even
Wow.
something as bad as this.
Okay, so all right, so it looks like the regional council, that there are these forms and that need to be filled out and put in, and that's taking its time. You've got the central government who are being shown up as being nearly pointless, but they definitely came on the helicopters in order to take photo op shops and to make sure that they were filmed in front of areas and saying, "Hey, we're here to help out." Disgraceful conduct, making sure that they had, I believe, now I might be wrong here, but I actually do recall seeing a couple of the politicians actually had high vis that was even looked like it was folded. Like I remember they're on screen talking about how they were going to do wonderful things, and the high vis vest looked folded as if they had just unfolded it from the plastic pack and stuck it on them. I thought that was despicable.
I mean, Elliot, this is all just a show at this point.
Hmm.
We know that a couple of uh, the members of parliament that are supposed to be standing in that area have stepped down.
Oh,
So
oh,
there's a
right.
huge Stuart Nash, and
What
then
is it?
there's the other one.
Stuart Nash and was it Faitiri?
Yeah.
Pointless. What have they done to help anything in that area? What have they
Um,
done? I mean, Faitiri, what? Is she going to punch someone? Is she going to bully someone else? Is she? Well, what's the deal there? Stuart Nash, what is he going to confiscate more firearms so that people can't get anything? Is that what are they doing?
I mean, the height of just people's anxieties and walking on knife's edge. We have, a government at this level, stepping down and stepping out. There's a huge gap there of any type of accountability, but
Mm,
any type of um, can we just come out and listen to you? We've got a
mm,
few of the minor parties that have got people who are standing who are actually doing that on their
mm.
behalf, even though they're not even in. I'm just, I, I have no words.
So, I mean, let's talk about that. And I know that I think you're quite an empathic type of person. I think you're very empathetic, which I think can be not a weakness, but I think it can cause you pain unnecessarily. 20 years in youth work, you have to learn to sort of compartmentalize a little bit. Uh, but I think for yourself, you're very empathetic. Now, what's the level of mental anguish there? Now, I'm hearing words that people have chosen to rather end their very life, rather than to continue on. But can you tell me how painful, how much is that heart struggle going on in that place right now?
There's been quite a few suicides there. I can't tell you the number because I just don't want to. I don't even want to talk about it. But the
Yep.
reality is that people need to find hope. If they don't find hope in the next little while, they will literally have to walk away from their land. Everything that they've built on, had any anything that they had for even generations, they
Yeah,
will
yeah,
have
yeah.
to,
Intergenerational,
yeah,
eh? Mm,
intergenerational. They will have to literally um, walk away from. One of the little bits of hope, Elliot, is that um, the silt there is very rich. And in one of the places that we went to, they found humongous worms in it. So you think about
wow.
it, you think life is starting to spring from some of these places. Every time there was something like, ah, there's always a glimmer of hope that comes from it. So I just think, yeah, I just think, you know what, no matter what the agenda there is down there is always a glimmer of hope. And I think people need to get more together. And you know what? There's only so much they can do down there.
Mm.
If there are groups that could come down and, I don't know, arrange a concert, something to just lift their spirits.
Yeah, you're
Honestly,
right. A bit of a
something as
concert, eh?
little as that, a concert,
Yeah.
bring some guitars, sing, like, if whatever giftings you have. There was a couple of things I suggested at a church group down there. One of them is sponsor a family. So
Mm,
if they can put up, like they did with sponsor a child, but there's so many families that need their houses rebuilt. So they need plumbers, they need, new jib, they need. So if they were able to show a
I
family,
mean, hmm,
do you know what I'm saying? If they were able
I
to
know what you
show a
mean.
family, people from all over New Zealand could
Yep.
possibly sponsor that family, and you know, co-
Now, I mean, if I'm going to look at this in a real world sense, you could have the government direct people or groups like Fletcher's and Downers and Hines, and the state, the government could actually direct people into that environment, and then just flood it for about a month, and then do whatever they can do to get it done. That is within their power. I think that when it comes to I think actually this could be a chance, and I'm not encouraging anything. I'm just saying that it could be a chance for those who are retired to perhaps put their skills into that environment. Perhaps maybe if the churches or the marae were able to assist with living conditions, maybe it could be something that for our huge, because we've got a retired population whose
yeah,
skill level is through the roof. These are men and women who have a great deal of skill, and they might be able to help out there. I know, for example, that a lot of the drain layers, the stormwater techs, the suction teams, the plumbers, the civil and infrastructure plumbers, they are totally under the pump. Excuse the pun. They're massively overworked because of things like Northland and because of things like Auckland and even Wellington. They are gunning hard for those environments. I think that many of the private workers just wouldn't be able to go there. But there is a section perhaps where there's a powerful force of those who are retired with a massive amount of knowledge.
yeah.
And even if they don't have the strength that they used to 20, 30 years earlier, perhaps it could be the labour part to assist in that.
Oh,
Because
100%.
yes, that could actually be a bit of a goer. I wonder.
Elliot, there's so many community development ideas that could really work well. I think they need someone who can actually, across the board, be able to organize different things to happen like that. If the
Mm,
government can do that, communities will need to step up. There's one thing
mm.
that I was told in one of the interviews is that when the disaster first happened, the actual local people were the civil defense until civil defense stepped in, and they were doing a fantastic job. That
So,
was
say
what it
sorry.
was.
Say that again.
So the different groups around the communities were acting on behalf of civil defense until civil defense stepped in.
Right. So what you're
So there was
saying
some
is that
very
the floods happened, and it was community groups in the area who took up the function of civil defence, and then civil defence took over at that point, and that's at
yes.
the point where it started to go down the whole service thing. Is that am
Well,
I hearing that correctly?
yes, that's right. Well, that's what they said. They had a lot of they were very onto it people, and then civil defence stepped in, and then yeah, well, we know what's happened
And
since
they sucked.
then.
Mm.
The thing
Right.
is that so there is a lot of ideas that are going around, but do you know what I mean? I think in some ways they just need a little bit of hope, and they really do need to just do it themselves. I'm sorry.
Mm.
There's just nothing, there's no other way we can, you know, there's, I don't see any other way right now
Mm.
because I think Valerie's got a really good point here. And does the government want these areas to be rebuilt on? Good
That's fair,
question.
and this is that
Anyone else
that
got any?
whole
Yeah.
land grab possibility, I guess, and we do know that in some areas it is actually those with state or state sponsored money, or those who have connections to the government, who basically swoop and get the land for cheap, and then they do what they want with it, whether that's going to be partly the housing, or whether it's going to be for pine forests, or what is it? What are they referring to? Managed retreat systems,
Yeah,
or
that's
again, this whole
yeah.
climate alarmism. Yeah. Just as Willie has said, the climate alarmism effect. I think that's actually worthy to be discussed. I think it used to be somewhere where people would say, "No way, you're crazy," but I think we can sort of discuss it, and it's actually a very real possibility. I think that it's disgusting though to if it's going to be a somewhat quite a deceptive move in order to move people who would already be feeling incredibly ashamed that their family plot, their intergenerational family plot, that might be lost, and they might blame themselves for that element. No, I mean, and you're right when you bring up things like suicidality and the loss of hope, the true despair that cuts so deeply that I would rather take my own life than live with what is perceived to be the shame of losing my family's land and legacy.
Right.
Mm.
I mean, that's a very real possibility, Elliot. Second, third, fourth generations of and actually waiting for insurance and not knowing whether insurance will cover anything or cover something.
Mm.
That's what they're waiting on. And how long do they have to wait for that? How
Mm.
long will the decisions be made? Because insurances will only pay out when the government. So apparently, there's an announcement made on Friday. So
Mm.
I don't know what kind of announcement, but there will be one made. Hopefully, there might be a chain reaction from that, but who knows?
Well,
We have
it's interesting. I mean, any announcement made now by the government will be purely an election bribe. So there is a positive thing about it. Now, we can never forget that this government's quite incompetent and quite brutal against the people of New Zealand. But I think use it. Use the fact that they horribly desire to get back into power. Use it. Don't forget what they're about. But if they're going to bring up lolly bribes and things like that, sweet, take it. Honestly, I don't care. Take the lolly bribes. It's absolutely fine. As long as we don't forget that they are the ones who are at the bottom of or at the core of a lot of the damage and the intergenerational harm and the economic ruin they have done to this country. If they want to put out a lolly bribe and think that we're dumb enough to forget, sweet, let them eat that lolly, take that lolly, and then just remember that that they're using it as a bribe.
as long as it's not poison lolly.
Mm.
The thing is, the thing is, Elliot, is that we have to, as a nation, get back to caring for each other. And just because it doesn't happen to us, it
Yep.
doesn't mean that we don't care about it.
Yep.
Because eventually it will affect us, and that's
Yep.
why I keep going back there. It's I haven't even seen what Hawke's Bay looked like before. It was apparently the photos I've seen, absolute like Garden of Eden, and all I've seen
That's
is
right.
all
That's
I've
right.
seen is
So
disaster.
yeah. So just to let you know, our people out there watching, just to let you know, Leao has never visited Napier or the Esk Valley before this disaster, before these horrible floods came, before Gabrielle came. Liao never was down there. And when she told me, I was like, what the heck? But I can tell you because I was there last year and I went through Esk Valley every single day for a period during winter last year, and it was beautiful, gorgeous. We went to the vineyards, we went to the wineries, we went to a couple of the mountains, we went to just engage in some of the activities that they had in the region. And we went through Esk Valley every single day. It was beautiful. We ended up staying over on the one part of a pine forest on the other side near the beach, but it was gorgeous. So Liao, I can tell you what you've missed out on in terms of seeing it. It is a Garden of Eden. Yeah, absolutely right. Just gorgeous stuff. It was when I went there during the first couple of weeks of it. I must admit, it just looked like a stick had come along and just wiped all the green and just replaced it with this brown devastation. It
Yeah.
really did. It looked very dystopian, just tragic. And so for the people there who had to see their homes that carefully built, that they'd raised their children in, that their parents had been building, that the different generations of their family had enjoyed life on, to see that wiped away, I think is I think there has to be a time where we acknowledge the pain, sit there
Yeah.
in our tears, in our
Mm.
fears, in our, you know, and but allow that pain to occur, allow it to occur. Don't run away from it. Allow it to occur, and when that's done, then allow yourself to strengthen up, step up, and start to build back, build forward. But I think the first one is don't try to run away from the pain or the fear of the future.
Yeah.
Right, that will be there, and I can say not alone. Right? I don't know what you're going through, but all of us have gone through pain and trauma, mm, and this is another piece of pain and trauma. What I can say with definite certainty, is that if you can make it through this, you will
Yeah.
be stronger for it. That's I can I can tell you that's what will happen. Feel the pain, feel it, allow it to wash over you. All right, we are with you, we love you, and we respect you. We're with you. Feel that pain, and then allow those tears just to flood everywhere, and then get up, have a rest, and then get up. All right, and I guarantee you, you will be stronger for it,
Mm.
and that will be resilient. Mm,
I think in some ways there is still a bit of concern over there's still trees that are, if something was to happen again, that those trees will continue to come down. There's still a lot of slash there. So do they rebuild? Do they not? This is where they've stopped they're in a quandary right now, Elliot, and
mm.
they don't know what to do right now.
When does that? When do you think? When's your estimate for that little mini doco coming out?
Well, we're doing it on a smell of an oily rag, so I've just given it to the editor. He
Mm,
lives in Rotorua, so everyone's in different parts of the country. And what
beautiful.
we'll do is we'll put together at least one of the stories because it's we've got about 6 stories, and they're all
Mm,
very different in the way that they've seen things. There's some that are, not one of them has said anything nice about government. Anyway, we have to edit it to a way that it's plausible for pla- palatable for people to be able to take in, but they will see with the drone being able to cover areas that we couldn't cover even just walking through. So hopefully, I would say maybe in the next couple of months, because
mm,
to be fair, it's not going to change unless something
mm,
dramatic happens and you all wake up and go, oh, we're not going to be voting this government.
mm.
We're going to vote somebody else. We're going to find
Yeah.
people who stand in truth. Uh,
Now, okay, so all right, so the government I think is quite pointless. I think that I was very disgusted with him, and look, I don't know what he was doing, but I was also quite with David Seymour. I remember when he was there as well, getting his always on a helicopter or plane, and he was just looking down upon them. I was like, oh gosh, tries to say, oh look, I'm an Amer-" I don't know what he tries to be, but he's doing I think he's doing a good job of looking as if he is there for the people. I really don't think he is. I think that currently, now this is just my case. I'm not a part of the party, but I would say that so far, in my head anyway, Democracy New Zealand is the current frontrunner in actually being authentically caring for that group of people. I think Matt King has a good hindsight and a good foresight on a lot of what's going on. I know that he's been working hard up in Northland, for example,
mhm,
when the storms came just recently, they've smashed Northland
yeah.
all over again. And so he's been doing a lot of work up there. In terms of yourself, what do you think, Leo? Do you think National does have it? Look, I think we're all agreed. I think we're all agreed that the Greens are crazy, that Māori Party are now just no more than racists and racist activists, and I think that that Labour Party is pointless. So, okay, well, what about National? What about ACT? Hey, what about New
So,
Zealand
are
First?
you asking my opinion?
I'm asking your opinion.
Well, National was supposed to be the opposition party, Elliot, and I haven't seen them oppose anything. They've come up with some things that will tickle the ears of the people. to get them on their side. David Seymour's a snake with forked tongue, and no, he
Woo!
really is.
Yo!
Yeah, I'm gonna keep saying that. He says one thing, promises one thing, and then the next minute he's telling beneficiaries that he'll cut them off if if they don't do the census. Is that being a
Yeah,
libertarian? Is it?
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Like
You're right.
I'm asking
Yeah,
that question because you know
yep.
the horns of tyrannical sort of the
Mm,
tyrant comes out every now and again. So
mm.
and Winston Peters, you know what, that guy, I'm sure he's going to live forever. I he was a politician in 1920. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, Winston. I
But
don't know. He's
well, just to follow on with your thing about Mr. Seymour, about David Seymour, is today I just listened to an interview that he had with, I believe it was our reality radio,
yeah.
and it was really interesting. But it turns out, it appears to be that David Seymour was a guy who actually called for 100% compliance by protesters, that they had to
Oh,
just, I don't know, do whatever he wanted, or sorry, that they had to be, I think 100% of them had to obey laws of peace rather than, I don't know, yell, scream, or something like that, and that he determined that that politicians would not meet with protesters until they had 100% compliance, which I thought was, oh my god, what? And
compliant.
yeah, I was listening.
Even
Yeah,
that
I
word.
was.
He's a tyrant, eh? And he's got this really like cool, calm, collected face, but actually behind it all, he will say
Oh
one
no,
thing
no, he's
and
no.
actually
I've seen him on stage. He's quite thin-skinned.
I can't
If
I
he's
can't
if he's
understand
winning,
who
he
would be
think.
voting him.
Oh no, I know who votes for him. It's the same people who vote for the political parties who we. I mean, the Greens. People vote for the Greens, and some of them will vote because they think that the Greens are for emotions, are for the environment, they're for whales and dolphins. And I think those of us who can look on the outside, are able to take an objective view and say, no, they are not. They are for hardcore, not just socialism, but very arguably communism. That they are very much in that Marxist style of ideology, of political behavior. And whales, dolphins, environments, whoa, no way, mate, not at all. Emissions, maybe. But even then, their emissions are double standard because Chloe wants hardcore commercialized weed to cross, and that's
Chloe,
environmentally damaging.
Chloe,
So
darling.
you've got David Seymour, and I think he's highly hypocritical in what he stands for. But people will vote for him. They will truly believe that David, oh no, because he's smart ass, because he's able to do a really quick-witted slapback, because he's able to do that. A lot of people will go with that and say, oh no, but he's good. He takes it to the politicians, not realizing that he doesn't. He is actually, his libertarianism is quite a fascinating form of it. Basically, if you're stronger, and in a sense, he does follow libertarian principles, which is, if you're stronger, you can lord it over the weak, but the
Right.
weak are not. Whoever is
Because
stronger, that's why pro-abortion, the strong over the
and
weak.
euthanasia.
Businesses, euthanasia.
Yeah,
If
get
you're
rid of
weak,
them.
if you're weak, kill yourself. You've also got what's the other one? The mandates. Business is
Right.
stronger than an individual, so the businesses can just mandate. If you don't like it, we'll get stuffed. That's that whole libertarian angle of strength of power. If you've got a higher power over someone else, then it's yours. You do what you do. And so I think that's why, for example, there is no such thing as a libertarian nation. None. There is no such. There is none. The only environments you can have really are theocracies, communist states, and conservative states. Those are really the three types that you can really come
And
to.
and how many communist states have worked out well for people?
Depends. To me, it depends,
Oh
because for
wait,
some
they don't,
people,
they don't get a say, so you can't ask
either they
me.
can say. Well, you know what's funny is I think that's why I've always thought that Jacinda's New Zealand was always quite a fascist state.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about long coats and swastikas. What I mean is they had New Zealand had slash has very close relationships with the big business,
Mm.
and it also has a view. So Jacinda Ardern had this very. It was. I hold that it is a fascist view, which is the people agree with me.
Right.
Therefore, whatever we do as a government, it's okay because
Yeah.
the people agree with us. And that is why you don't need as much free speech allowance to go forward in because everyone agrees with me. That is actually being one of the markers of fascism, is that the
Right.
people are viewed upon as agreeing to the state of the government. You increase your state benefits, you increase your social welfare to the point where that
Of
because
dependence.
basically the
Right.
state is fatherhood. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think dependency. I think dependency though is a unintended outcome of fascism.
Okay.
It's inevitable, of course. We see that, but they don't. I don't think they see that. And don't forget, they focus on big business. Their relationship with big business is there. They'll regulate everything else out of the market. So it's close. It's very close to socialism, but fascism is what New Zealand had, especially during that lockdowns, I believe.
So tell me, Elliot, you know, we're coming up to an election. Uh, what are your thoughts about who would be, you know, would you stand if you had the opportunity to?
I don't know. I don't know, and I truly mean I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know. I will be honest. I am taking some advice on
Good.
future decisions, very close future decisions. So there are some people. I mean, I think everyone who's watching now and watching on the future videos, they'll know a couple of the names of the people who I regard as my guidance people who I look to for guidance and wise advice. Mm, but yes, yeah, 'cause I do. I like to fight. It is kind of fun.
Oh, look,
Oh,
don't be
Valerie,
shy,
Valerie,
Elliot.
what the? I'm very shy. I'm
Yes,
very shy.
Elliot. See, Wally's
The-
asking the hard questions now.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
I
what
know how to
the?
ask. I,
Shh. No good, Wally, no, Wally, no.
you know
I
what?
I don't I don't know.
I do want to say, Elliot, that I have learned so much from you in the last 3 years. And don't be surprised if I end up standing in
Ah, woo! Hey.
this because I have learned so much from. I think this is the most critical um, election.
Mm,
The last one was heading into. I mean, we've seen over the last 3 years. I want to tell you something really incredible. Today I came past a guy who was very much green, sort of Labour in the last 3 years. And he said to me that from what he has seen over the last 3 years, he is absolutely shocked. And like, I'm shocked. I'm like, why would you be shocked? I've been telling you this for over 3 years. He said he didn't realize that this is how bad it was going to get and that he was no longer going to be voting for Green and he was no longer be voting for Labour. And I said, well, who do you think? I said, there's, from the right, really, there's minor parties, there's Democracy NZ, and he said Matt King, which was a real shock to me because, the Green side of would never even know who he was.
mm,
But you see, the thing is that he knows now, knows that actually he needs to go with a minor party that is standing up for democracy. He said he has been in his heart wanting to fight for democracy for a long time, but he didn't know where. But you've got a party that actually has it in your name, then you have to live
mm,
up to it. So, Matt, if you're watching this, democracy is in the name of your party. So you have to
mm.
live up to what it is you're fighting for. Yeah.
So yeah, so I'll say in the 2020 election when we fought and you and I were fighting hard there. Everything that we warned about, everything that we warned about has come to pass. Everything that we warned about. it has come to pass, even down to specifics of it. I saw Jasprit Buparai, great lady from the lower South Island. She actually released something which, oh my gosh, I look a bit fat in it actually. I was like, oh look, I look very unfit there. But in that one, that was actually 2019, I think it was. I think it might have been around or 20. It was years ago anyway. And I was watching, I was going, oh my gosh, wow, I'm speaking about He Puapua, I'm speaking about the separate mental health system and, all that stuff. And we warned about this. And I think maybe I went up and down the North Island specifically, not really South Island, but up and down, spoke to I don't know how many churches, families, went to all sorts of community groups. And actually, there was a good heartening part of it. But, we got absolutely owned at the elections, and it felt very. I think deflated is not the right word. I felt like that. I tried my best to warn people.
I know.
It all came to pass what we had warned about: the sexualization of children, the racializing of segregation or power, the push for climate alarmism, the increased youth crime, the increased violent crime, the increased gun crime, gang crime. All of that we had warned about had come to pass, and it just I was like that. Now, I have to say, though, this election may be different because it's exactly the same sort of stuff that we were arguing, that we were stating was going to happen, and it did happen. I think maybe the pain and the struggle of the lockdowns by the government, and especially the freedom protests and the pushes against the growth of government power, has shown people, or has forced them out of their sluggishness, their normal Kiwi sluggishness that I had before I joined youth work. I had the same sluggishness. I voted Labour. Why? Or I supported Labour. Why? Because Labour are good. Labour are good. Labour are good. I never bothered to think about it overly. But the pain, I think, has forced people's eyes to awaken to what actually is happening. And so I think this election could finally have the people of New Zealand vote as according to what is happening, as opposed to the perception put upon them by media, academics, and the politicians themselves. So, I think it's great.
I think you're right, Elliot, because I think in some ways we were even before our time, because now that people have experienced the crime rate has risen, the ram raids, the just the injustice of or even what's happening in Hawke's Bay, the food prices. Now everyone is actually feeling that we're like, what the heck? What is our government meant to be there for if they're not going to be there holding a space for us to thrive in our country? If not the government, then who? So that now it's across the whole country. It's not just the poor going, we can't afford this. It's everyone. Everyone is feeling it. They're taxing us for everything. Taxing youths, taxing, it's so incredibly crazy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And when we look at the policies, I mean, National, for example, have said, and I'll put this out there, there are other policies which I do like democracy in. I think that they're pushing for that, which is quite good. National have said that they're going to come out against co-governance, and I think co-governance is the apartheid of New Zealand. It's our apartheid equivalent. And it is also very much connected with the United Nations because it comes under UNDRIP. New Zealand will be the first to implement a UNDRIP type of policy, He Puapua. So make no mistake, of course, just for our crew out there, that He Puapua, the idea of co-governance or apartheid, is very much New Zealand is the first, and no one's really stood up against it. Even the National Party, where they say, "Oh, we don't agree with co-governance." It's like, dude, you guys started it off. Chris Finlayson, Ngāti Whātua Bill. You guys started it off. What are you talking about? So they're saying it, but I don't think they're going to actually get rid of co-governance. I think they're just going to get
No.
rid of the current crop of policy. So it's sort of like on hold, where it's like, nah, man, no, no, man. One code of laws for all. I whakapapa to Ngāti Raukawa to Te Ateawa. Why do I deserve extra power than you? Why do I get if myself and someone out there needs to get a hip replacement? If you're non-Māori, why do I deserve just to get it faster than
Mm.
you?
It's the same with you
Utterly
and your
wrong.
wife,
Yeah.
Elliot. If you have that and your wife doesn't, and she's not from here,
Hmm.
then she will have to wait.
Yep.
And what about your children? Do they
Yeah.
do they have
Oh,
to
they
say
would.
that they're part Māori in order
Yes,
to
they
be
do.
able to?
Yeah.
That is,
Yeah, it's
you
wrong.
know what?
It's wrong. Do you want to know what else? I will tell them. I'll tell them. Nah, use it. I think the policy is quite a scumbag. It's quite a racist policy. But if my kids need it, I'll fall into line. I'll
Right.
fall into line and do it. Now I'll fight against it. I hate it. But when they start utilizing children and they start utilizing family as leverage, it's quite disgusting what's going on. Now, not only that, I think what's of most dire circumstance in New Zealand is the one thing that they're not talking about. They're talking about economy,
Uh,
money. Yeah, I get it. I understand that. Economy is massive. But what about the entire generation of children who, since 2021, are now being indoctrinated with the most sexualized activity ever in New Zealand history? In New Zealand history, that an entire generation of primary school children are now being inculcated with sexual appetite, sexual desire, that they're starting to learn about sexual proclivities of other people, that teachers are now able to speak to them about their own sexual habits.
so,
It's
Elliot,
extraordinary.
not only that is how much is that going to cost the taxpayer when they want a sex change? Like how
Yeah.
much is it per operation?
So
And
it's
an operation that they will never be able to get their bodies back.
Yep. So you're talking about a male now, female. Now, I can't remember whether it's female male or male to female. I apologize. I'd have to go back to my notes. But for one way, I believe it's $55 to $70,000 for the first surgery, and then onwards after that, grafts, skin grafts, muscle replacements, wound gap opening, things like that, as well as
Absolutely.
obviously your puberty blockers. Now the other way is anywhere between, I believe it's 250 to 500K for the first surgery, and then it's ongoing after that.
Wait, who's paying for that? Is it
Now,
is
we
it
are.
going to be through the government?
That was according per a Labour Party promise by Jacinda Ardern, Grant Robertson, and a couple of others. August the second or third in 2017, 18, one of those years. And so New Zealand actually taxpayers now fund that; they pay for that, and that's coming from the cost high cost medical pool or something like that. It's called something like high cost medical pool, or it's called something like that. So your puberty blockers are there. Also, don't forget, there's also PrEP. That the New Zealand
Yep.
taxpayer also now funds PrEP, and PrEP is basically a pill that if you want to get homosexual promiscuous, you jump into PrEP. And so PrEP, you pop a pill, you got to pop it once every day, and you then go off and you have promiscuous male sex. It's very much a promiscuous male sex type of pill because then it prevents you from gaining HIV. So they're not talking about monogamy. They're not talking about what safe sex. It's just straight up. If you want to go raw deal, if you want to go no condom and do anal sex, homosexual promiscuous sex, specifically sex with multiple partners, then you take PrEP, which is a taxpayer-funded pill. And by the way, this was all done. This was all done before they decided to give Pharmac a couple of $100 million for cancer drugs. So, so, so cancer drugs were given the last treatment, not the first couple. It was PrEP, and it was taxpayer-funded gender reassignment surgeries.
So all of the surgeries that now have been put on hold because of how bad it is in the hospitals and the wait, and who knows how many surgeries have been put on hold. The cancer ones, they've been put on hold, and we are allowing this kind of Indoctrination's
Well,
happened.
yeah, well, I mean the gender reassignment stuff. That's actually I now again. This I'd have to go back to my notes to confirm that this is current. But as of like a year ago or a year and a half ago, you had about two doctors who were doing this type of surgery, and I believe that they're Australian based, not New Zealand based. So we're spending a lot of money to bring them. Like really, that these guys are getting bling bling over here to do that, split the penis, make the fake vaginas, make the fake penises, stuff like that. It's, if ever you want to see, you can see it on YouTube because they show how it should be done in the medical facility. It's quite horrific. Like when they try to make it really, they try to make it like it's all nice and sterile, but you're looking at going, oh my gosh, what? I mean, they split the penis, re-sew it in, which means that if children, and don't think that it's not going to happen to children. At the moment, it's not. Don't think it won't. It will come to here to New Zealand because it's already in the schools, it's already in mental health, already in Oranga Tamariki, and it's already been pushed by Rainbow Youth, Inside Out, the Ministry of Education itself. So don't think that won't come to children. Because what it does is it sterilizes your children, and it basically makes it, once that penis is split, once that vagina gets faked out, it's to detransition is an extraordinarily difficult procedure. It's not because they take out the tubing for the urine, the tubing for anything else, and they cut open the.
We might have to censor this.
Oh, sorry, sorry, guys, sorry. I
Yeah,
apologize.
sorry, Elliot.
No, my bad. Yes, but it's horrible. It's horrific.
Yeah,
It's horrific.
yeah. I'm sorry. I know. I think you will be doing a series on that, and we will give parents, your warning to this.
Well, what's worse.
It is really disgusting.
I warned. And again, I don't want. Please now, just so I clear out there, I'm not trying to say, "Oh, look at me." I'm not. But I just want you to. I want to impart the feelings of desperation that I had for our families to understand this. I went around the country desperately trying to get people to do that, and at the time, many of them were going, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah," but it's not until now that, and I. To their credit, a lot of people, they'll still message me now going, oh my gosh, what you're saying was so true. It's now happening. It's in my school. It's in my school. Here's a book. So I think that part's really good. But I just want to impart that.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the fact that this is the government that was voted in, okay?
Yep.
And they were allowed to do this. So I saw I put up a post on Twitter, and it was the people who cancelled you and your jobs, locked you down with mandates and sunk your businesses, are now asking for your votes to keep their jobs. Okay, don't forget that. Don't forget that all of this is happening to our children, has been allowed, and it's been infiltrated. And Elliot, we've talked about this for the last 3-4 years now.
Yep.
That it's not only in one subject anymore. It's going to be infiltrated into every subject. Every subject. So sexualization is going to be in every subject.
Yep.
So, we've come to this where we're like, what more can we say? We've told and talked about it for so long. It's time to get this government out. And don't expect
who do we replace it with?
Don't expect a perfect one to come back in, but at least they're going to spend the next 3 years just cleaning up this mess.
Will National stop the grooming, the sexualization of our primary school children?
Have they said they would?
No. Now, to be fair, they haven't actually said anything. So they are avoiding it like the plague. They are absolutely avoiding it. So I don't want it. They're not saying that they'll let it keep going, but they are not saying anything about it. And I just want a backbone. Just want a backbone from any party. Actually, and don't get me wrong. I think New Conservative, but I don't. With all due love and respect and affection, I won't be voting for New Conservative. I just can't see myself doing that at this stage. I don't know who I'm voting for specifically. I'll be honest, I do like Democracy NZ so far, but I'm still in that zone.
So Elliot, we're just about to finish now. We've gone over, which is not normally like me, but because you're part of this, we've gone over.
Hey, what?
But
Oh, bro.
can you leave people with a sense of hope, please?
Hmm.
What sense of
I
hope
well,
besides
no, I
praying
will.
for Jesus?
I will. Yeah, yeah. I think it is important to pray. I think that in terms of it, yeah, I do. I think that one thing which I do like is that the team that I was a part of, Leao was there, and it was a new conservative team. That we everything that we said had happened. Yep, absolutely. Was it was a struggle, and it was tiring, but with the struggle and the pain that people who voted for Labour in there, that the pain itself has allowed them to view the foundation of what we built. And I'll look at Democracy NZ. I think Democracy NZ, a lot of their policies, uh, I'm not saying that they took them, but they definitely are very similar to the policies that we had back in 2020, 2017. So there's a lot of good stuff in there, stuff that you can definitely get behind. I think also the pain and struggle. If we keep the information alive, what is different between this year and 2020 is that people no longer have the blinders on. People are no longer as malleable or as manipulated by the mainstream media as they used to be. People no longer trust the politicians, and I mean all the politicians as they used to. I think that there is a lot of hope because the pain and struggle is still very clearly remembered. And while you'll get a group who go over to National, go over to ACT, I think there's a massive group, a very big group of New Zealanders who had a bar of them. And when you look at countries like the Netherlands, for example, the Netherlands, and they've had their equivalent National Labour both been kicked out, all right, and so they've been brought over by a freedom-loving, farmers conservative style party. I'm not saying they're conservative, but they're a conservative style of party. Their policies sort of roll that way. So as long as we keep sharing, as long as we keep together, as long as we keep reminding us of the don't forget, the hashtag don't forget, to make sure that we do not forget what has happened, to make sure that we don't forget that even during the election lollies about the National Party and putting out whatever they're putting out, ACT putting out whatever they're at.
Mm,
It's all a game for them. Don't make any mistake about it. It is a game for them. For us, it is not. It is our family. It is our children. It's our legacy.
right.
What we leave behind when we pass away, what will we be leaving behind for our children and our children's children and our nation itself? So I think there is. I think there is. We just need to keep our head and our heart steady in both equal measure.
Mm. I think you're right. And I also think that we are actually the last generation that have understood freedom as it is. Because not only are we going to be facing this, we're going to be facing possibly digital IDs, the banks
Social credit
changing it,
systems and
social
yep,
credits. We will be the last generation of this. So unless we
mm,
stand up and push back, our children will never know the difference. And
yep,
this is what I'm going to keep saying is that we really are the last generation to do this.
yep,
So it's on your shoulders and don't
mm,
back away from this because this is where we're at right now. So, I mean, the best thing you can do is to find the right party that will align with your values. Understand what your values are first.
mm,
What are they? What is important to you? And
mm,
then don't try and pick something that is similar to it. Hold them to account for what your values are. So, all I see National Labour as super party, both sides of the same coin. So it's time to look elsewhere. And I think it's time to do a bit of research. But
mm.
thank you so much tonight for being with us tonight. It's been a very eventful conversation, as it always is when Elliot and I are like Elliot and I are in conversation. But listen, we have got hope, and we've got a foundation that we can springboard from. So yeah, with that and saying that, I'm just going to ask Elliot if he can finish us off in prayer and
Mm.
I don't know. I randomly come on, so I used to have one day a week, but we'll fit in wherever we can with
Awesome.
our conversation. So bless you
Mm.
guys. I'll just let Elliot finish us off.
Dear Lord, thank you so much for tonight. Thank you for giving us breath in our bodies. Thank you for our life ourselves, and just, Father, we pray for the healing, for the pain to be lifted, even just for a brief moment, from our people who are in Northland, who are in Auckland, who are in the Napier region, for all of those around the country who are struggling, who are feeling like that they're at the end of their tether, that they've got nowhere else to drop. Father, I pray that you hold them and show them love, even just for a few minutes, to give them just that little bit there, that little clearing of the sky to gain them some strength that they can take on the next battle, the next long tunnel. Father, we thank you for every day that you give us to have chances of being loving towards each other, to actually be kind, and we just thank you so much that we are all together. Thank you so much for love, for peace, kindness, and thank you always for the hope of your eternal life. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Ka kite anō, everybody.
Ka kite.